get real.
No.
This
Just
is
stop.
a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Might be hard for me to focus.
Yeah.
Right before the show, I got an estimate about my car being in the shop, and it's gonna be under $1,000 or grand estimate. So, I better. You know what? I better focus up because I need this job.
Yeah.
So let's get to work, everybody. Former Bachelor host Chris Harrison is breaking his silence almost 2 years after leaving the franchise. So in a podcast, he talked about the fallout from an interview he did with former Bachelorette Rachel Lindsay, where he defended a contestant's decision to attend a plantation-themed ball back in 2018. Let's have a listen.
I was sick to my stomach, and I lost 20 pounds. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. Well, the point I was trying to get across, I stand by. The way I did it, it was messy, it was disappointing, and it's just not me.
So then you don't.
So Chris also said he apologized when he departed from the show, The Bachelor. It came at a time, right? This was a difficult time in America when he was still dealing with the pandemic and the backlash from the murder of George Floyd. So is this enough for you, Erica, in your mind, or does he need to apologize to Rachel Lindsay herself?
Well, he has apologized to Rachel Lindsay.
Oh, he has? Okay,
and
good.
she has said that she accepts his apology. I think it's also important that he's acknowledging that he made some missteps. He still stands behind what he said, which is interesting. I mean, neither here nor there at this point in my mind. However, he's not the only person who suffered from that exchange. Rachel Lindsay suffered from that exchange, and she was an innocent bystander in that, the idea of her just doing her job like any of us would have been doing, asking that question. It put her in a terrible position for as many death threats and all those things, and I'm not discounting all those things that he is saying happened. She received the same. So it's not like I'm feeling bad for him, but I also am not like losing sleep at night thinking that he has a trajectory for a comeback.
Their situations are different in that when he was let go from his position, he was given I can't even call it. Oh yes, so like $20 million. Rachel Lindsay, when she was given death threats, she had to shut down her social media, which is really what you win when you win one of these shows. You win social media. And Jeff, I can't tell you anything. You've been on these shows and you understand that you can, this is how you keep yourself relevant after you've won one of these things, is you get a ton of followers, you get sponsorships and things like that. So Steph, for her to have to shut down her social media and really alter the course of her success story, which was winning this incredible show, is, I think, a punishment that will continue to play out over the course of her life, just because she wasn't able to capitalize on those opportunities at that time.
Well, I think as well, like, obviously Rachel is on Extra, right? A huge daytime show, and the amount of viewers that has is huge. And all of those, like you said, all of that, whether it was the good or the bad, they're literally flooding in at her. And I mean, I've never experienced anything on that level or extreme, and the pressure mentally, and she's still got to go out and do her job every single day and still face the cameras and still face those comments. I mean, that's so hard on anyone. But also, obviously, he's saying the same. He's saying, I feel bad for his fiance, who also got death threats, and she wasn't anything to do with it. Right. She wasn't any part of that conversation, and it affected her life too. So it's like what do you call it? A ripple in a pond that's gone out even further and affected so many people in so many different ways. But I do feel for Rachel, because, like Erica said, how can you be in that situation and you're on the spot just doing your job, and the backlash and like the racism, the hate, is unbelievable.
Right, it was an avalanche.
2 years ago was a different time. Different time.
It
okay,
was.
Totally different time. I think it was handled wrong back then. I think to save both of their careers, Rachel as well as Chris Harrison's, they should have talked it out more. They should have had a little Bachelor special, whatever it is. They always do that. They have time for it. They always make time for it. Have her on. Why is this? Make this a learning experience. Making a teaching experience. Let's hear from Chris Harrison. Why did you say that? You said it was a little muddy the way you said things. Well, straighten it up. What did you really mean? Have Rachel answer. That's how you clear things up. This whole cancel culture that we went through, just fire people and the problem will go away, was ludicrous in my mind, because they both lost. They both lost. And the network comes out looking like they did the right thing, and they didn't, in my mind.
Well, I think I think in theory, but it wasn't that long ago. And remember, Chris Harrison did double down on what he said. He did have another opportunity.
With Michael Strahan.
Exactly, to clarify things. I'm just speaking from my experience.
Totally.
I've had Rachel on my podcast. She's a lovely person. I really look up to her in a lot of ways. If I were in Rachel's position and asked to clarify it the way that you are kind of saying that it could have been done.
Have a discussion about it.
Right.
Yes.
In that moment, I would not have done that.
I don't think she'd have felt able
I would not have done it. And the reason why, and this is the only reason why, there's a lot of reasons, but this specifically is that she was in a no-win situation in a lot of regards. He had blatantly disrespected her and on her platform. So the idea of her going back to Bachelor Nation, which if you read her book, she goes into all the ins and outs of that coveted thing that you talked about earlier, the idea of winning social media, being able to monetize your social media. That also comes with two different juxtapositions, the Bachelor Nation and what she refers to as the Bachelor Clan. That's the reason why the idea of this plantation party and all of the things that came out about that in terms of racial dynamics within that franchise were so important. So in that moment, had she gotten an opportunity to do that, in my opinion, if I were her, I wouldn't have conceded that way.
Really?
Now that it's now and here, and he's like on his podcast openly talking about it, do you think she would address it again now?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm just saying from my standpoint, I could see why that might not have been the way.
I think at the time it would have been way too
You're
much.
right. Having this conversation 2 years ago, I would have been fearful for my job. And that maybe my bosses might completely laugh that off, but I was in a different headspace, and that doesn't equate to my job or what the network says. It's where we were in society. And I was walking a tightrope and fearful for my job every day. Had I have stepped out of line, it could have been like that, like Chris Harrison. So my point in this, and you're absolutely right, in that moment, I don't know if I would have had that conversation or tried to defend him. And I don't blame Rachel at all in this whole process. Right. Chris Harrison said it, right? Now you have to defend why you said that. Were you defending the girl that was going to be the next Bachelorette as a producer, as the host of the show? Were you trying to brush it off saying it wasn't a big deal? Well, it was a big deal, Chris. So let's have that conversation about it. That's where I'm staying from. I'm not saying one person was right or wrong. Chris was wrong. Rachel was fine. I'm saying we need to put conversations on the table instead of canceling people for one moment out of line. Where you grow up speaks volumes for how you treat other people in your life. Maybe Chris Harrison, I don't care if you're 80, 90, 10, or 20, you might say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And I'm saying we don't need to erase people for that. We need to teach them about it.
And
that's where I'm coming from.
No, and I understand where you're coming from. I do think that you brought up an interesting point that we've never discussed before, was that we were all theorizing why he was going so hard. And at one point, we did say she must have won the season.
For sure.
That's why he's defending her so hard. What was her name? Whatever her name was. With the mat and the whatever. We kept saying, I think she won the season, but he couldn't say that she won the season, and that's why he was trying to ride so hard in order to save the season. And really, his career was taken over the season.
Right.
So that was interesting because we never even talked about
and
that.
And I think that's what he was trying. Again, I'm not speaking for Chris. I'm not here to defend him. I think that's what he was trying to do as a producer. And is her name Rachel Kirkconnell? Rachel Kirkconnell, so that was the girl. But what's funny is she's forgotten in this whole thing. She wasn't even part of it.
Well, and they got back together. This is so weird.
It is weird. It is weird. But I'm happy we're talking about it because I'm honest with you. Like, we've talked about it 2 years ago. I would have been scared to have this conversation.
Right, and you wouldn't have been that crazy for being scared. It was a different time, and Lizzo. So let's not forget stories that happened just yesterday. Lizzo came out and said cancel culture is kind of over in a weird way.
She said it's appropriation.
It's appropriation. And let's be more judicious in how we use it. And I think that comment is from the last couple of years where we've seen celebrities and people speak, even if they didn't misspeak, even if they said something that was wrong, that was stupid. Everybody should have a chance to at least explain where that came from. I came from here, and this is why I thought this. I've talked to this person, and this is now I think this. I think everybody needs that catharsis because we all come from different parts and different walks of life, and we understand different things.
As well as that learning moment. You guys teach me a lot, all of you. All of you. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Marley Matlin. She's telling us all about her directing debut. Plus, Jennifer Lawrence reveals the celebrity she'd be most starstruck by, and her answer might surprise you. It's a new year, and DBL is all the talk.
Let's get it going.
We had a lot to talk about last year.
I'm flexing every day.
And we're not stopping in 2023. I'll see you guys on the flip side. I think people care more about the Prince than Chris Harrison. But we didn't get to the Prince today.
I don't care about but do you guys think that people are kind of getting over the Prince?
Yeah.
It's been a lot
his book dropped today, just like for clarification.
Are you going to buy it, Steph?
Probably
You could write it off in your taxes.
Steph,
Probably
do we still call him a prince?
Yeah.
He's just not the Sussex, right?
He still has
he
his
does.
title. He still has his title. I don't know if he will continue to have it much longer after the coronation, but at the moment he does.
So at the coronation, do you expect no mention of him? Is he
Jennifer
persona
Lawrence
non
now?
grata at this point?
I mean, I obviously I don't know, but I don't think he'll go. And if he doesn't go, there won't be any mention of him anyway. Either he'll turn up in no one else will be saying or doing anything, you know? Not even like William or anyone. They'll all just turn up and stand and watch, like watching a wedding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here, like, okay, at this point, what would be a benefit to him being in the royal family at this point?
Well, he says what difference does it make is his.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no benefit. I mean, just to retain his title, I suppose, but he's not anywhere near in line to the throne. He's not a working member of the royal family. He
How
has
much
to
do you think
retain
Prince
it.
William is worth?
Worth?
Yeah, like individually.
Oh gosh, not that much, because it's all of their money actually belongs to the duchy. It's not them as as individuals, so they don't have access to the royal funds.
Yeah.
So probably not that much. Like maybe, I don't know. Like Diana left him like 13 or 14 million.
Yeah. It just seems like we know that Harry has made probably about
More than they'll
$250
have.
million this
Yeah.
year. We know that he's gotten his story out and that there's toxicity in the family. So it's like, is there a point to like trying to restore?
Yeah, maybe.
Welcome back. Jennifer Lawrence may be an A-list star, but she still gets flustered around other celebrities. In fact, she recently told W Magazine that she would be starstruck if she ever saw Jessica Simpson and that meeting her would totally knock her over. She also admitted that when she met Ariana Grande on her film Don't Look Up, she was so excited she looked like a, quote, radio contestant winner. She also said that she thinks Pete Davidson has the biggest star on the planet. I mean, is the biggest star on the planet right now.
Stop.
Thanks for one person getting that joke.
Who would you like fall over if you met?
Well, I met Olivia Coppola. She's the ex-Miss Universe.
Oh, I remember
And
you
Danny
telling me.
Amendola. They were dating at the time. She's dating Christian McCaffrey now. But I met them with my friends, and I was like taken back because both of them were equally
Didn't you say they were like the
fantastically
most beautiful people you've
Yeah, the most
literally
beautiful
ever
couple I've
seen?
ever seen. And I was like, oh, this guy plays for the Patriots with Tom Brady. This girl's Miss Universe. I was like taken back. I'm not even joking. I was nervous a little bit. yeah, awesome. It happens. It happens. How about you guys?
Erica?
I was pretty geeked over Lionel Richie.
Oh, that's
It's a good one.
Yeah. And he's just the most amazing person. Yeah, and definitely Mariah Carey. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
How about you, Al?
Yeah, mine, and it's weird because it happened every time, but like when I used to be a writer on Shaquille O'Neal's show on True TV, and every time I would see him, it was just like me staring at my childhood, and he is as big as you think he is, and his personality's as big as it comes across. So like every time I would meet him, I would be equally stunned that first of all he knew my name and how big this human being was. So what about you, Steph?
And you interview big people, Steph. You really don't get that way.
No, Not really. There's only one person that I've met, and I've always been like, but her aura is quite incredible, really. It's like Victoria Beckham. She's got such a powerful aura, and she's very like, there's definitely like this distance between her and everybody. Like, you know, she's really like mastered that art.
Do you feel like
you can feel the
people
presence?
Say when you meet presidents,
you
like
can
they
feel
have
the presence with her, like very much so. But I think also J-Lo, because she's so diva-ish, I just love it.
Yeah.
Like, and you just know it's going to be amazing. Like, the room you're going to be in is going to be incredible. Whatever tea they serve you is going to be like the finest china. It's like going to be pretty epic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you say anything silly like around big celebrities, like to try to make conversation? I definitely do.
I think I told you guys in the break room when I used to tour with Bill Bellamy, the comedian, and him and Dave Chappelle know each other. We were in Dayton, and Dave lives out there, and he just showed up at the Dayton Funny Bone and just walked in the green room, and I was asking him like silly questions about tour buses. I was just trying have words come out, and as soon as Dave left, my friends were just like, "You were nervous and asking really stupid questions." I was like, "Yeah, I'm aware of that.
I don't know why
that now." So yeah,
you feel dumb not making
I wasn't
conversation.
ready. Dave Chappelle just walked in the green room, made a quesadilla. Like, all right,
making quesadilla. Coming up by DBL, our interview with Oscar winner actress Marley Matlin. That's coming up next.
The Mega Millions jackpot is more than $1 billion, with the cash option prize expected to be more than $568 million. The prize is now the third largest in Mega Millions history. That's got people racing to buy tickets, but as you try to get rich quick, be careful because scammers may be trying to get rich off of you. Let's verify. Are there lottery scams around large jackpots like the one in Mega Millions? Our sources are Mega Millions, Powerball, the Better Business Bureau, and the Federal Trade Commission. Scammers have a history of targeting people who play lottery games, including Mega Millions and Powerball. On its website, Mega Millions warns of one particular tactic: a phone call, text, or email informing that you've won and asking for either payment or your personal information to claim the prize. And you don't have to buy a ticket to be scammed. Mega Millions also warns scammers could claim to be past winners looking to share their money in exchange for information. Both Mega Millions and Powerball say they do not reach out to prize winners. The FTC and the Better Business Bureau say signs of a scam include being asked for personal information or to send money to pay fees or taxes on the prize. So, yes, there are lottery scams, particularly around large jackpot games like Mega Millions. Our sources recommend contacting your state's Attorney General and the FTC if you think you've been scammed. You can report scams to the FTC by going to reportfraud.ftc.gov. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back to DBL. She won an Oscar when she was 21, and that was just the beginning of her amazing career. For more than 30 years, she's been breaking down barriers and fighting for representation. Earlier, we spoke with Marley Matlin and her interpreter, Jack Jason. Before we begin, Marley, I just casually over your shoulder, your Oscars sitting there. Is that where you keep your Oscar, or is that just for DBL?
It's where I keep my Oscar most of the time, especially when my kids and their friends come over and they've never seen one, so I sort of bring it out and say, take a picture. Your mom and dad are going to be impressed.
I love the honesty. I love
that. That is so cool. Never mind the Oscar. You've also had an amazing 2022. So I want to know, what are your goals or wishes for 2023?
2023, my goal is for it to be more productive, more work for deaf people, and more directing jobs for me, perhaps.
We love it. We love to watch your journey.
Good health is important at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's talk about Henry Winkler, because he has been on our show several times, and he's a mentor of yours. So you even lived at his home at one point. What's Henry like at home?
I can see 30 years of a friendship. No, it's actually more than 30 years. It's a lot more. my math is bad, but I met him when I was 12 years old. And we kept in touch all those years, and I'm 57. But anyway, he is the coolest person on the face of this earth. He has been a friend, a second father. He's just an amazing guy who always has an answer for everything.
Okay, well, you know, you won an Oscar as an actress in 1987, and your film Coda won an Oscar last year. So I have to ask you, and this is a tough choice, which win was more emotional? Because I can't imagine.
Well, I mean, you're talking about getting an Oscar when you're 21 years old. So you're connecting with all those emotions and, you know, that. And now you're talking about emotions that are connected with being a 57-year-old. I could say that I appreciate the fact of the Oscar much more this time because it did so much more for the community than my win as a single actor. Now we're talking about 3 actors. And I think it was just everybody coming together and supporting each other that was so emotional for me for Coda last year. We're really, you know, clued into accessibility. We're talking about inclusivity. We're talking about more representation. Coda just really blew open the doors. It's just a whole different experience from when back then and now.
So Marley, you had an amazing career already. You're still climbing that ladder. The TV show Accused is your first time stepping behind the camera as a director. What was the biggest challenge you faced?
The biggest challenge as a director was to be able to show that I was going to be there on time. I had to be on time. I had to make sure I was there. It was an interesting challenge for me because I could say 99% of the time I was on time every day on set. That was great. 12 hours, 13 hours a day, everything went smoothly. I was very proud of myself. It was one of the things I was so most proud of. But no, actually, it was a great experience working with everybody on the set, working from, you know, with the cast, with the crew, with Howard Gordon, with Sony, with Fox, with the writers. It was just an amazing experience. And I'm so glad that this is my first directing experience. It turned out so well.
And I need to ask, why did you choose Accused as your directing debut?
I didn't really choose it. I was offered it to direct it, and I chose to say yes. So yes, your question is correct. Yes, I did choose it. It was just the perfect vehicle. The perfect vehicle to be able to make my directorial debut, having to do with the fact that it told a great and compelling story with deaf characters, a story that hasn't been told on television before, and I think it was an important issue. So it was all perfect. It was all perfect.
Well, Marley, congratulations on your TV directing debut and your friends over your shoulder there.
Yes.
DBL Nation Accused airs on Fox starting on January 22nd, and don't miss an episode. Marley and Jack, thank you so much, as always.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Bryan Coburger made his first court appearance in an Idaho courtroom on January 5th after he was accused of killing 4 college students 2 months earlier. Leading up to his arraignment, social media users began sharing Reddit posts that they claim were written by the suspect. The posts say, "I am inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime." The poster identified himself as Bryan Coburger, and the posts were shared in subreddits like ex-cons and prisons. So, let's verify. Did Bryan Coburger write the posts on Reddit asking for help researching why people commit crimes? Our sources are court documents filed in Latta County District Court in Idaho, DeSales University, and a review of Internet archives of Reddit using the Wayback Machine. The posts on Reddit appeared in June and have since been removed from the platform. During Coburger's arraignment, prosecutors introduced an affidavit written by Moscow, Idaho police, which confirmed the Reddit posts were made by Coburger. Using the Wayback Machine, we were able to look at the original post. They included a DeSales University email address for Bryan Coburger. DeSales confirms Coburger was a student there until 2022, where he earned his bachelor's in psychology and a master's in criminal justice. So, yes, Bryan Coburger did post on Reddit asking for help researching why people commit crimes. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
The two most popular COVID vaccines in the U.S., Pfizer and Moderna, are both what are known as mRNA vaccines. mRNA stands for messenger ribonucleic acid, and it's a critical component of cell function. Verify viewer Scott said he heard the mRNA in the COVID-19 vaccine can stay in your body a long time after you get the shot. So is that true? Let's verify. Our sources, the CDC, the National Library of Medicine, University of Missouri Healthcare, Nebraska Medicine, and Stuart Ray, an infectious diseases professor at Johns Hopkins. mRNA acts as a set of instructions, telling cells how to make certain proteins. Ribosomes, the protein-making machines inside the cells, use those instructions. Once they're done making the protein, they discard the instructions, which then naturally break down. Now, the way a traditional vaccine works, you get a weakened version of a virus. Then your immune system is easily able to defeat it, and in the process forms antibodies for it. So the next time you're exposed to that virus, your body can quickly recognize and kill it. mRNA vaccines work similarly, but instead of the whole virus, you just get the instructions for one of the virus's proteins. Your ribosomes create a little bit of that protein, which by itself is harmless, and the immune system quickly recognizes that the protein is foreign and creates antibodies for it. Then the ribosome discards the instructions, the mRNA, just like it does for anything else it makes. All our sources say once discarded, the mRNA breaks down usually within a few hours, a few days at most. It's actually a pretty fragile substance, which is why the vaccine has to be handled carefully and kept cold. Dr. Stuart Ray told us, quote, "We know from many decades of work that mRNA is short-lived, among the least persistent of the macromolecules in our body. In no instance have we found mRNA that lasts for a long time in living tissue." So we can verify no. mRNA from the COVID-19 vaccine does not stay in your body a long time. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back. Flexibility is important when it comes to staying active. As you get older, it's easy to develop aches and pains that might get in the way of your exercise routine. Ask our executive producer, Chris. He did legs yesterday. It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. Here are some stretches to stay flexible. First, try shoulder rolls and arm circles. Stand and lift your shoulders up and rotate them back in a circle with your arms by your side. Next, bend sideways, reach up with your opposite arm as high as you can, as far as you can. After reaching all the way up, reach all the way down towards your toes to increase the range of motion. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers. Supported by 30 years of clinical research, Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. Call 800-813-6801 or visit omegaxl.com for more information.
I'm watching Al. He's like doing it all.
I think a lot of people are stretching over there. A lot of people are stretching. Are you guys watching the Golden Globes tonight?
I absolutely am for the show, yeah.
Because we're going to be talking about them tomorrow. So that's our homework for tonight. And again, I got to pay for that muffler, so get working.